So Heidi over at Rain Country Homestead asked me to be in a herbal collaboration with her, and so there are a lot of other different people that are part of this collaboration, so I'm going to link all of that below. They're all posting videos at different times, so make sure you subscribe to their channel so you don't miss their herb video. This is really a great idea. I commend Heidi for it because herbalism is something that we really need to get into the homesteading community. A lot of people are like taking control of their food, taking control of their animals and their lives, but they're missing the whole healthcare aspect of it. You know, self-sufficiency isn't just growing meat and vegetables from your homestead, it's taking care of your health as well. And that's where herbalism steps in. So today we are going to talk about herbalism, how to get started with your herb garden, not necessarily running down the list of herbs that are good for you, but we're going to run down and teach you how to really get started with an herb garden this year, and then we'll go from there. So stay tuned. So our journey to homesteading really began with herbalism. You've heard me talk about that before, whether it's in videos or blog posts. Our journey to homesteading really began when my son developed childhood asthma, and I wanted to find all natural ways to heal his body. So that included a natural diet, and then it included adding herbs and natural plants and plant material to his diet, and to also medicinally help him. Now, we haven't always had an herb garden. When we first began, I started buying bulk herbs, either from the bulk herb store, or I would buy them from Star West Botanicals or Frontier Herbs off of Amazon, all of which I'm going to link below. That way you can find which suits you better. I do prefer the bulk herb store. Bulk herb store has really grown over the past few years, and they are an incredible resource if you are trying to get into herbalism. Now, with all that said, do your research. It is always very important to do your research before getting into using herbs for your family. There are different ways to use herbs, different ways to get herbs into your family's diet, different ways to treat, dosages and things like that. I'm not going to get into that today. I'm actually going to go over, what we're planning on doing in our herbal medicine garden this year. Encourage you to start one because it's so easy. And then kind of go over a few basics with you. So before we get started, I wanted to show you 3 books that I feel are really important if you're getting into herbalism. I really wish there were a book specifically about homesteading and herbalism, and that's something that I'm actually going to try and work on myself. But in the meantime, these are 3 books that I reference too often when it comes to herbalism, and they show you basically what herbs are and how to use them. So the first one, and now I got mine at a used bookstore because I like to buy used books. Number 1, I'm cheap. Number 2, because I just like buying used books. You can get this on the Amazon used bookstore, or you can find it at your local bookstore, or you can buy a new copy of it. But the first one is the herb book. This is a really important book, okay? This list, it is a complete, they call it the complete and authoritative guide to more than 500 herbs. Really suggest you get this because here's what it does. It lists the herbs for you. It shows you a sketch of the herb, gives you the proper name of it, tells you common names, gives you a description, which is really important, especially if you're wild foraging for your herbs. Gives you preparation and dosage, how to infuse it, how to make a cold extract, and ways that it's been used in the past. So this is really, really great book if you're trying to study herbs and get into herbalism. The next book is the Peterson Field Guide. I've talked about this before. This is the guide to medicinal plants and herbs, and you know, mainly a lot of things that you can wild forage for, but also things that you can plant. But so for example, red clover. She can see that. Gives you a picture, gives you a description, the name, and then over here it has this little, you know, exclamation mark, and that says, you know, beware. There's something important about this that you need to know about. But it gives you the description, where you can find it, and any warnings about the flower. If it's toxic, if it shouldn't be used in certain amounts of dosages, where you can find it, how it grows, when it grows, a lot of great things like that. So they make different regions. This is Eastern and Central region for me because I'm in the United States. I'm actually going to show you 4 books. The next book is this book. This is the complete book of herbs. Now, this is not to be confused with the herb book. They're very similar, but this is actually, this is a little more in depth. This shows you pictures, breaks it down for you, gives you the history behind the species, and then it tells you where to find it, how to grow it, how to harvest and preserve it. Tells you culinary uses, household uses, cosmetic uses, aromatic uses, medicinal uses, how it's been used in the past, how it can be used. And the final one, I do suggest all 3 of those that I just showed you. The final one, though, if you are serious, I mean really, really serious about diving into a medicinal herb garden this year, which I think every single homesteader should really take seriously. If you're on a self-sufficient journey, then self-sufficiency includes your health care. So if you're really serious, you really need to get this book. This is the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook. This is like a course in a book form without having to go to college. I mean, it literally is that in depth. I can't even show you how in depth it is because it's just, oh, look. Okay, I have made so many notes in this book. It's just incredible. It's literally, I really encourage you to get this. I encourage you to sit down and read it, or at least read through the chapters that really pertain to you. Shows you how to make tinctures, tells you the science behind herbalism. So if you're really wanting to dive into medicinal herbalism, helping your family, helping others, this is the book to get. Now, a lot of you are just wanting to get started with some simple herbs, and that's fine. That's how most people get started. So you're going to start with things like thyme, oregano, peppermint, rosemary, things that you can use medicinally, but also holistically or in your food. So stuff that you can grow. A lot of people, when you say an herb garden, they think, oh, it's just for culinary purposes. And that's true. You can use a lot of the herbs that you're going to grow for culinary purposes. We do grow some of that. We use cilantro, rosemary, thyme, oregano. For culinary purposes, but then we use other things mostly for medicinal reasons. So last year we actually created an herb garden. That's the first year we've had a big herb garden. In previous years, I have done all of my herb gardening in containers. So either big, large containers that you can set, I mean, they sit really high up off the ground, or just pots, like flower pots. You can grow herbs in just about anything. So don't be discouraged if you're like, well, I don't have a lot of space, or I don't really want to create a new garden for my herbs. You don't have to. Just buy a few flower pots and grow some herbs this year. For us, last year we really dived into, last year was my first year to dive into medicinal herbs of my own. In the past, I've always bought them. But past year, I really grew a lot of them. So we grew echinacea. We've grown echinacea for years. That's been the first one that we started with, was echinacea. And that's a perennial. So that comes back every single year. You don't have to replant it. But then I discovered that its cousin, which is part of the same family, Black-Eyed Susan, is also part of the echinacea family. So I planted some of those last year. Those are the flowers that you see growing up in fields, especially in Virginia and the countryside. So they're supposed to come back each year too. So we'll hopefully they're going to come back. We're hoping all the plants that we planted. We also planted some lemon balm, which is Melissa. That really spreads out big. So that's something you could do in a container, but it really needs to be something that's on the ground. Some things that we're growing this year are St. John's wort, marshmallow, let's see what else were we doing, yarrow, and a few other things, and that's another video for another day. This is more like how to do it, and so a lot of the stuff that we planted, I either started inside, now, like when you're planting your vegetables, or I did buy some plants, or I direct sowed the seeds into the ground. So, you know, how do you get started in that? What do you choose? What herbs do you choose? And so I'm not really going to tell you which herbs to choose. That's something that's going to be up to you. I will answer your questions if you have them in the comments below. But here's my suggestion for you this year as you're planting an herbal medicine garden, whether it's herbal and culinary or just strictly medicinal. I really, really highly recommend you choose 3 to 5 ailments or things that you want to combat with herbal medicine, not modern medicine. And so that might look like adding herbs to your daily diet as a preventative, such as elderberries for elderberry syrup, echinacea, making echinacea tea and drinking that a few times a week helps boost immunity. Things like that maybe you might want to add to your daily diet, or things that you have issues with that would strictly need to be medicinal. Now there are 2 different types of herbs that you need to keep in mind, okay? There are a set of herbs that are pretty much toxic unless only given in very small dosages. And there are other herbs that you can basically have as much of the herb as you want, and it's not going to be toxic to your body. So be very, very careful when you're looking into herbs and make sure you do your research. So if you have chronic migraines, something that might be beneficial to you is growing peppermint. Peppermint works for migraines. There are other different herbs that work really well for migraines. Maybe you're looking into asthma, like with my son. What are some things that can help with that? Go through, do your research, pick out 3 to 5 herbs that deal with your family's issues and plant those herbs this year. When you have that herb garden established, harvest them this summer and fall. Make your tinctures and your oils and your salves and everything out of it, and then expand more. So then you can expand into, well, what do I want to grow for my animals? If you don't have a lot of health issues, maybe you just want to start an herbal garden strictly for your homestead animals, which we do as well. Harvesting and then adding those things into their feed really, really cut costs if you're buying herbs. Really helps cut costs if you're growing them instead of buying them. And it's pretty. Most herbs are very pretty. So take those things into consideration this year as you make a list. Make a list. Say, okay, here are the 3 to 5 things that I want to work on for my family, and then maybe I want to grow some marigolds for my chickens and oregano for my chicken feed and chicken water to help as a natural antibiotic. Or maybe I want to grow extra garlic. I mean, garlic is an herb as well. Maybe you want to grow that and have that for my chickens and for my animals and for ourselves. It's the same with the essential oils. You just kind of go down the list and say, okay, I'm going to try this. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, awesome. So the same things with herbs this year. As you plan your garden, really don't make it overwhelming. I really, really encourage you to start one. Start with the basics. Start with the things that you really need, and then grow from there. Take into consideration, each herb needs a different specific amount of room. So, like I said, lemon balm, which is Melissa, needs a lot of room to spread out. So does peppermint. But now I have grown peppermint and do grow peppermint in containers as well. But just know it spreads out and kind of falls over. It makes it kind of pretty. But every homesteader should have an herb garden. I really, really, really encourage you to take control of your health, take control of your animals' health. We have not treated our animals chemically in years, okay? And that comes from giving them either homegrown or store-bought, from bulk herb store, organic herbs in their feed and their water every single week. We rarely ever get sick, ever, because we have herbs all the time. When we do get sick, we treat herbally. The only time that we've gone to the hospital or the doctor or anything like that in the past 5 or 6 years has been for stitches and broken bones. Literally. We did go to the doctor once for pink eye, but that's because I don't really mess around with eyes too much. I'm not comfortable with that yet. So I encourage you, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be scary. And please ask me. If you have questions, ask. You don't know the answer until you ask. And it doesn't have to be scary. So I really encourage you this year, as you're planning your garden, to go ahead and make a little garden, or pick up a few containers for an herb garden. Treat, or either whether it's daily, everyday herbs to put into your life, or maybe you want to make soaps or salves, or maybe you want to add herbs to your animal's diet. Whatever it is, choose what you want. Pick the top 3 to 5 herbs that you want to grow this year and go from there. And you can expand on it every single year. So that's my encouragement to you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please feel free to share and ask questions. I'm always here and open to answering anything that you might have a question about. That's it for me today, guys. Happy homesteading.